Welcome in and welcome back to the Slate Show. As always, I'm your host, Corey Zeh. Thank you to Chris Hess for that intro right there. A big 2-run homer off Josh Longo in the Dynasty versus Smash Bros. Series. We'll get into that, and we'll get into stunners against Arm Barn and everything else for Slate 2 right here on the Slate Show. We will go ahead and just get into it, and we'll start with Smash Bros. Against Dynasty because it's the most interesting of the two matchups. I have a lot of thoughts on it, a lot of feelings as well. It was also the first matchup of the slate that kicked things off at 10 a.m. And it's down to the grid we go and over to field 1. And we haven't named our fields yet, which is kind of weird, but we have Dynasty. You've got Hess, Patty the Batty was there, Omar making his season debut. You've got the newest best fielder, Dan Charmello, in the house. Dynasty had 4 today. They were missing Matty B and Justin Mara. Smash Bros had a full squad. They had all 5 guys there. You won't see Mark Horwedel here. He didn't get there till game 2 and only played briefly. We'll get to that later. But you do see Chris Horwedel making his season debut right there in the Powder Blues. Zach Longo always ready.
Got the new merch on. New merch. I'm feeling good today. Week 2. Coming for it.
Now in game 1, things started just fine for Hess. And yes, like it or not, I do think that this series is largely going to be about him. He was able to put up 2 zeros in the first 2 innings. Cruising along.
62. Work. 59.
Fair ball.
So he goes into the 3rd inning with a 2-0 lead via that 2-run home run.
Get the fuck! Let's go, Hess! Let's go!
And that's when it all fell apart. And not really just in this game, but in this series. He has 7 walks in the inning and walks in 3 runs to put his team behind now 3-2. Mind you, he still hasn't given up a hit, but he's wild. 4th inning comes along. Dynasty down to their last ups. And lights out.
Game. Smash Bros. Field, right?
Yeah, we just stay and we go out in the field.
Oh, okay.
We're just home team. We just go out in the field.
Then we move into game 2 now. Smash Bros decides they're going to throw Zach Longo here to mix things up. Dynasty stays with Hess, but Hess would never ever gain control again. He also wouldn't give up a hit. He would go on to walk 19 batters in this game to the tune of 8 runs. So an 8-run no-hitter. And he almost blew it. He had a 9-2 lead going into the 4th. Walked 6 runs in. Right here you got bases loaded, everything on the line, and a gift from Chris Horwedel to end it. And somehow, some way, he manages to hold on and get this victory. Now again, let me just recap a little bit of what just happened. Chris Hess just threw 2 no-hitters. And he allowed 11 runs and went 1-1. With a total of 28 walks. You're talking about one of the most accurate pitchers I've ever seen, inside or outside of this league. Definitely one of the most accurate pitchers in this league. Completely broke down, completely lost the zone. They called it a windstorm. I would call it breezy. No, not what I meant. I meant like a little breezy. Anyway, back to Chris. No, not that Chris. Chris Hess. Back to Chris Hess. I don't think I've ever seen him be so wild. I don't think I've ever seen him lose the zone like that and never find it again. And to speak to that a little bit, he actually came out and started game 3. And he walked the first batter and then he took himself out. So even he knew it just wasn't going to happen. Now I do want to point out, Dynasty's offense did get going in game 2. They put up 9 runs on Zach, 7 hits. It wasn't able to hit any home runs, but singled them to death. Even Zach had 9 walks. It was just such a disappointing series. I won't get into it yet. Let's get into game 3. So game 3 starts. Josh Longo back on the mound now for Smash Bros. And for Dynasty, as I said, has started, walked the first batter, and then brought in Omar, who actually was able to throw up a scoreless frame there and didn't pitch too bad at all, despite the final score here. I mean, thankfully, in this game 3, both pitchers were able to rein it in a bit. Only 4 walks for Josh, only 5 for Omar. Dynasty's bats continued to do work in this game as well. They went for 5 hits, but 3 home runs, including 2 by Hess. Hess actually stayed hot offensively all day. He put a lot of balls in play and ended up with 3 homers and 10 RBI in the day. Best offensive performance from Dynasty by far in that series. All in all, this game 3 really came down to 2 big swings. It came down to a grand slam in the 2nd inning and a grand slam in the 3rd inning. Those were 8 of the 9 runs they had going into the 4th inning with a 9-6 lead. But Josh Longo, the crafty veteran, was able to buckle down in the 4th, put it away, and win the series for Smash Bros. A disappointing, sloppy walk fest of a series that it was. I'm not really sure how either team can be too happy. I mean, clearly Dynasty can't be happy going 1-2, especially off of the opening day performance. Hess has to just be scratching his head, like, what was that? For the Smash Bros, I guess they're a little happier because they go 2-1. You know, a 1-2 start there would have put them 1-4. Instead, they at least are at 2-3 and have a little bit of life. But like, they barely got any hits, so it's just, how do you feel good about where their offense is at? And again, look, there's no shame in getting shut down by Chris Hess, maybe for a game, but it's just like, you're supposed to be the best offense in the league. You should be getting to him by the second or third game. Now, obviously he didn't pitch the 3rd game, and I get the strategy of this guy is wild, so let's go up there and see strikes, but I mean, it was time and time again where they were swinging away at balls anyway. They're an aggressive team. And especially their best players have to perform their best. Zach Longo's 1 for 11 with 7 Ks on the day, 6 walks, 3 RBI. That's just not good enough. It's just not good enough for Zach Longo standards. It's just not.
49 seconds.
Oh my God. Fucking look at him. Is there a hole in that? Ah, 2 down, baby. Let's go. Come on, Chris.
Chris Horwedel in his debut, 1 for 10. He did have a triple, but 7 Ks. I mean, between him and Zach, that's 14 strikeouts right there. Those guys are way too good to be striking out that much. At least you should be putting the ball in play. You should be putting plastic on plastic. I mean, if you're the number 1 ranked offense in this league, you should be doing better. Straight up. I don't care that he was wild. I don't care that it was a little breezy. Mark Horwedel in this game, as I mentioned earlier, didn't play until game 2. Promptly went 0 for 3 with 3 Ks and then was removed with a neck injury. A neck injury. So he didn't help the cause. I mean, the Horwedels combined were terrible. That's what they were. They were terrible. I mean, the whole team has just been a disappointment so far. Josh on the mound's 2-0, 8 innings pitched, 8 runs, 10 Ks. He was Josh Longo. Found a way to get it done. I'm sure he's not thrilled with his performance. He's thrilled going 2-0. Had a big grand slam offensively. But all in all, disappointing effort from both teams, really. Even with Smash Bros coming away 2-1 on the day, obviously that's a positive for them, and they probably would have signed up for that at the beginning of the day, honestly. But it's like, take away one of those grand slams and you go 1-2, and then now I think the narrative might be a whole lot different just with that one swing. So I think it masks their struggles a little bit, the fact that they went 2-1. But at the same time, they kind of just have a reputation of getting it done. And Dynasty has a reputation of just not getting it done, and they both fell into those reputations right there. Okay, let's get into Dynasty a little bit here. And before I go over Hess's tragic day, I'll just go run down the numbers here from the other guys. Patty, 4 for 15, 6 Ks, 2 walks. He's had a little bit of a subpar start, but it's early. Omar, in his season debut, 2 for 7, 10 walks, very patient at the plate today.
59 points.
Charmelo, 5 for 12, 5 walks, continues to display his power here as he should have last year, but he didn't. He had a homer, a couple RBI, and honestly, Dynasty of the two teams was the more powerful of the two teams today. They belted 4 homers. And now we get into Hess. First of all, like I said, he had a great offensive day. 4 for 12, 3 walks, 3 homers, and 10 RBI. Without him, maybe they get swept. But on the mound, where he's supposed to make his bread, 1-1, 7 innings pitched, 11 runs, 15 Ks. 15 Ks is good, especially, for 2 games, for 7 innings pitched, 11 runs, and those 2 no-hitters. Nonetheless, it doesn't make it any less confusing to look at that line and kind of pick it apart and say, okay, did he have an atrocious day? Was it actually not that bad? I mean, was it good? No, it wasn't. Spoiler. My anger towards him for spoiling this matchup for us aside, I do have my questions. Like, okay, so you're throwing a knuckleball over and over and over and over and over, and you're walking 20-something guys in 2 games. At what point do you adjust? Why not come off of that pitch? Why not go to your slider? Why not throw a damn fastball? So anyway, my overall thoughts about this series is kind of this, that I was hoping to come on here and say what I learned and make projections moving forward, yada yada. Honestly, I think it's just a throwaway series. It happened. Smash Bros ended up winning 2 out of 3. It was a complete toss-up. Anything could have happened either way. Smash Bros get 2 out of 3, but there's no real lessons learned here. We are seeing the Dynasty bats come alive, so that's a good sign for them. But I think it's largely just a throwaway series. You don't learn anything. It happened, and you move on, which really sucks because it was supposed to be really one of the marquee matchups of the year. It's a great rivalry, and there's really nothing to show for it except some footage. So, is what it is. Moving on to something to get me in a much better mood. My team was swept. Oh. It's true. We were swept. At the hands of Arm Barn. And at the hands of Jimmy Cole. The same way that the first series was largely about Chris Hess, this one is going to be largely about Jimmy Cole. But I promise you, he did not walk 28 batters. Because he is a good person. And he wouldn't ruin a series for some... Well, I mean, he beat my team 3 times. But he wouldn't ruin a series for a fan that really wanted to watch that series. Like someone I know. Chris. Not that fucking Chris! Although he's probably not a great person either. I don't know. I don't judge him. I judge Chris Hess. Anyway, Arm Barn just straight had it going. I mean, Jimmy definitely had it going on the mound and at the plate. And as you may have seen on social media a few days ago, his performance earned him Player of the Slate. Deservedly so. Game 1 started like any other game with 2 teams on the field. But by the end of it, guess how many teams there were? And there's still 2. But I had to try and make it exciting. It was kind of exciting until the 3rd inning. 3-1 Arm Barn, and then they blow it open in the 3rd. The fact is, every single person on Arm Barn in this game went yard. 4 ribbies from Cole, 3 ribbies from Gadani, 3 more from Stoney, and it's a 10-1 victory. Jimmy looked excellent on the mound. He basically threw 3 of the same exact games back to back to back. He wasn't dominant in any of them. He would only end up with 9 strikeouts on the day, but he kept us really off balance, and he kept us in the park. And more importantly, he didn't walk anyone. So this 10-1 loss looks bad, but it can get out of hand in a hurry, as you see with the 7th spot in the 3rd. So we took a game 1 L and we moved on to game 2, where things did go a little bit better, or at least a little more competitive. And in game 2, Aussie did everything he could on the mound. He really did. It was 0-0 going to the 4th before he eventually walked in the run. And we had a chance in the bottom to come up with a game tire or a winner, and we just couldn't do it. And we were looking at 0-2 to start the day. Aussie was 1 for 11. KG 1 for 10. 5 Ks. Kurgan did get his first hits of the year. He went 4 for 12 in this series with a homer. It's really hard to put Aussie in those positions. I mean, you know what he is, and we know what he is coming in. Like, he's not going to be an elite pitcher. He's going to be solid, and he has been. For me, I think he's done his job. He's been hard on himself because he's 0-5, but he's done his job. It's the defense and the offense's job to back him up and go win it, and we have not. Anyway, on to this 3rd game, another close game where both teams had their chances. And in game 3, if he hadn't already, Jimmy Cole made the difference, made his impact. He had all of the arm barn RBI in this game, 2 big homers, a solo shot, and then an absolute crippling 3-run shot right there.
Yahtzee. Attaboy.
Hit that part enough.
It was an absolute steady dose of Jimmy Cole screwballs and his little drop pitch there. I think I only saw him throw 1 or 2 curveballs. In the 4th inning, I was able to go yard, of course, in a spot where it absolutely did not matter. 2 outs in the 4th. And that was it. That was our only runs. Jimmy closes it out, and arm barn sweeps, and Stunners move to 0-5. The arm barn numbers: Cole on the mound, 3-0, 12 innings pitched, 2 runs, 9 Ks. It was awesome. Offensively, probably even better, 8 for 14, 6 walks, 3 homers, and 8 RBI. I mean, he absolutely was a one-man wrecking crew, but the other 2, Stoney and Gadani, also had solid days. Stoney 4 for 16 with a home run and a double, 4 RBI. Gadani was 5 for 14. He had a homer. Unlike this first series, this series is less about what happened in game and more about the takeaways from it. For Arm Barn, a very impressive slate, obviously, with the sweep, not just because it's over a solid team, but just the way that they did it as well. All the way around, turned 4 double plays, so their defense is on point. They all hit home runs. Cole was unbelievable on the mound. They're scary, man. They're scary, especially if Jimmy is going to pitch like that. You know, I expected somewhat of a pitching competition, and I was even told as much by the captain, Andrew Stoney, and I don't know what competition there's going to be. You know, it doesn't look like they need anybody else. I understand it's just 3 games, but man, it was effortless. Jimmy's effort against us was effortless. He looked like he could have thrown 7 more games just like that. And again, we should have hit better, but he was absolutely on point. If he is going to be one of the best pitchers in the league, which I thought he was going to be last year, and it never really turned out, I don't know what would derail him if he doesn't miss weeks or doesn't miss the zone. Because if he solves that control issue, he might be the best pitcher in the league, which is really saying something this season. And you couple that with a defense that's preseason ranked number 1 and playing like it right now, and an offense that has started the year on point. They're a scary, scary, scary team. For the Stunners, now at 0-5, clearly not the start you wanted. I mean, look, it's not like it's disrupting my life. Okay, so it's been a rough week, but I do think there's reason for hope. Mainly, the numbers actually aren't that bad. Let me explain. We're last in the league in batting average. Okay, we get it. Noted. I've felt it all week. But we're also first in the league in balls put in play. We only strike out 3 times a game, 3.1 to be exact. We're putting balls in play. We're just not hitting it where the defenders aren't. We're not hitting it hard enough over the fence. We could have used Josh Allen this last series. And when we hit it, we're getting double plays turned on us. 7 double plays we've hit into this season. That's more than twice as many as the next closest team, and that is killing us. A little bit of that is just being unlucky, but it's mostly weak grounders on the infield. We need more power. We need to hit the ball harder. We're making contact, but just not in the right places yet. I got to believe eventually that's going to pay off. Putting that many balls in play every game is going to pay off, and we're not just going to keep getting double plays turned against us, right? Okay, that's going to do it for this week's episode. I tried to be a little bit more direct and to the point here. Hopefully you enjoyed it. I don't know what the feature is going to be, so whatever the feature is, make sure you check that out this upcoming Sunday right here on this YouTube channel. If you get a moment, like, subscribe, do all that. It'll make us feel better. You see what a tough week I've had. Okay, everybody enjoy your wiffle ball the next couple weeks. Let's hope for good weather, and I'll see you in a couple weeks. Later. I did it right this time.
Oh man, that's bad luck, dude. Get there! Hit it to the farthest part of the field.